This is Rating Descending.
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 movies so you don't have to.
My name's Michelle St. Clair.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And this week we watched Thunderbirds. When the Hood finds and invades International Rescue's secret base and traps most of the Tracy family, only young Alan Tracy and his friends can save the day. Let's watch.
Back.
All right.
You're
back to Smooth
morning,
Sounds
Cleveland.
Rating Descending. This is the new radio voice. Hello, I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And I'm a married woman. Was that a segue?
What? A married woman?
I do declare.
Oh my, I do declare.
A true Southern belle has been at last captured by her beau.
Captured?
Yes.
Claude, give her back. I'm Claude.
Well, I only get an allotted
Ward,
amount of
obviously.
time. Claude Ward. I only get an allotted amount of time that I'm allowed to leave the house for. So we've really got to make
Yeah,
this
okay,
quick.
sorry. We'll go
Yeah,
quick.
I have a
otherwise
curfew.
I'll get an angry phone call from your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be sending the police
I'll have
to collect his property.
Well, I'll have to pay the fine of renting you out for too long.
Yeah. What's my hourly rate to be rented?
Like 10 an hour.
$10? That's below minimum. That's well below minimum wage.
Well, you're not. I mean, you're working, but like that's separate. That's separate to your wage. This is just like the extra. This is the equipment fee.
I can't believe I'm worth $10.
You're getting rented out as equipment. That's the whole thing is upsetting.
But the equipment is just my company, which means my company is worth $10.
Yeah, it's great. Well, you're not doing any fucking labor when we just like get a coffee.
Hey, sometimes we're talking about heavy shit. That's emotional labor.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, but then it's
Isn't
like
that what friendship is loaning each other your emotional labor for periods at a time?
That is not what friendship
What?
is. Abigail Wood.
I'm married.
You're married.
I'm married. Yay.
Yay! Everybody clap.
Fucking clap. I had the best fucking night of my life.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic evening. It's truly touching when you're there and you look out at the ceremony and all the people you love in your life are just staring right back at you. And then you're at the reception and you're making a speech and you stare out and everyone's just staring right back at you and they all love you and they're there for you. It's the loving vibes. And I have to say, I know that the wedding was a goodie because we got an email from the bar staff the next day just saying, you guys were lovely. All the people at the wedding were lovely. The vibes were great. You had a beautiful wedding. We just wanted to say thank you. It makes our job a lot easier. And we were like, yes.
Yeah, it was good. It was a really good wedding. I really would put it in my top favorite weddings and also one of my top favorite nights of my life.
Yeah.
I had such a good time.
I was so glad. Michelle made a beautiful speech.
Thank you.
It's very touching.
Which I will repeat verbatim now. We open on a sunrise screaming, a child is born. The prophecy is coming true.
I'm sad it's over. I want to get married again.
Yeah, but you're forgetting all the fucking legwork leading up to it. You were very stressed out.
It was a very stressful time. But to be honest, during the night, I was like, this was all fucking worth it. This is the best fucking party.
And
it's crazy. If you tailor a party to your needs and wants, it turns out to be the best night of your life.
It was really good. It was also good for me because I got to reconnect with some of our old friends from Sydney who I haven't seen for ages. Also, your family, who I hadn't seen in a long time. A lot of your family very sweetly came up to me discreetly because I hadn't seen some of them since before transition.
Yeah.
So they came up to me and was like, you look really great.
I
And
know.
I was like, thank you.
How nice are my
Thank
family?
you.
They're just so sweet. I mean, you got like the weird other end of the spectrum where instead of getting hate crimed, you got love crimed.
I did.
They were too loving to an uncomfortable point.
Most of them were fine. Some of them I was like, you're taking your support to a degree that I'm not going to take this opportunity to say is actually a little uncomfortable and
Yeah.
a little othering.
Yes.
However,
Yes.
it's your intentions couldn't be sweeter.
Oh, 100%. No malice was in the room.
No malice at
Just
all.
too much love.
Yeah.
Too much
If
love.
anything, I'm like, guys, chill out. I transitioned. I didn't invent fucking the cure to AIDS. It's cool.
It's just so nice because I feel like I can be a full functioning person again. Like every moment of my time prior to the wedding was spent on the wedding. It was like every free moment I had outside of paid work was, okay, cool. I've got a lot of stuff to get done for the wedding. And that same for Claude. Claude was working these really late nights and like he was like every weekend was just basically spent getting prepared for the wedding.
Whereas me, as the eschewed non-maid of honor, I had tons of time. I was just sitting around going like,
I could be so helpful.
Man, what I could really go for is helping to organize. If only somebody needed me.
I will say, I was saying to Michelle that the only time I felt, I understand the purpose of a maid of honor was just when I was getting down to the ceremony. My dress was long and in my way a lot. It needed to be rearranged and picked up. I had phone and keys that I would love someone to have held for a little bit. That was it. That was the requirements that I really needed. Just for like all of 5 minutes, I was like, God, it would be great to have a third pair of hands.
God, I was so ready to rise to that occasion. For that 5 minutes, I would have
open
been
and clasping at me
during
during the ceremony.
Fucking bliss for that 5 minutes. I would have been that would have made it the best night of my life. That's all I wanted. I also was so glad. I was so sad in the lead up because I got a very pretty dress, which made me very emotional because I don't have really anything that makes me feel pretty.
Yeah.
I joked to a friend like, if surgery was like the final boss of transition, feeling pretty is like the secret end game boss that is just like I'm still trying to fight.
Yeah.
And I really wanted some pretty shoes, but I have very big feet, so I couldn't find almost anything that fit, which made me feel very embarrassed consistently. And so I ended up just getting some sandals that were Docs, and they looked really nice. They still looked really nice, but I was like, oh, they're not like a strappy heel, pretty shoe thing. And then
it's okay. I was wearing fucking Doc Marten boots under my wedding dress, bitch.
Well, it had been like
muddy,
raining and muddy, and everyone with heels was like, oh fuck, and I was like, easy peasy.
I literally told people in all the emails like, don't wear heels.
Yeah,
we're on grass and it'll be raining, and people still wore heels, and I was like, ha, I'm fucking not.
Gotcha.
My family came up to me after the ceremony and they were like, are you wearing Doc Martens under your dress? And I was like, hell yeah, I am.
Hell yeah.
And I'm so glad I did. It was a sticky, muddy night, but the weather forecast, guys, 100% chance of thunderstorms. And I had a big fucking like, I basically just sulked over that all week, just watching the forecast kind of get worse and worse and worse. Like 80% chance of rain, 90% chance of rain, 100% chance of rain, 100% chance of thunderstorms. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the worst fucking wedding. Plus, we had a marquee that had to go up because we had 110 people there.
Yeah.
We had a chapel that couldn't fit everyone, so we put a marquee up in front of it and put furniture in front of it. If that marquee couldn't have gone up, the wedding would have been fucked. And when they arrived the day before the wedding, they looked at the land and they were like, this is the most uneven land we've ever put a marquee on. And I said, can you do it? And they were like, we'll try. So I spent an hour just biting my nails watching them try and get it up. And when they got it up, I was like, you've saved my whole fucking wedding.
Yeah.
So we were just lucky we had a roof over us. But anyway, 100% chance of thunderstorms that day. Sure enough, come like 3:30 p.m. right before the wedding, the clouds quite literally parted and the ceremony had blue sky and sun. People were roasting.
Yeah, if anything, I remember
hot.
the murmur in the crowd while we were waiting for you. We were being like, oh, of course, Abby's late to her own wedding. I did joke.
You're always meant to be late for your own wedding. You got to let people be late themselves.
I did joke at the time the ceremony was supposed to start, like, oh, this is when we'll get a text from Abby just leaving now.
The celebrant said to start later.
The murmur amongst the crowd was a bit hot, a little overdressed.
Yeah, it was hot. And when I got there, I was like, wow, I'm baking.
If there's anything I could say about that wedding, it was hot.
It was hot
and
but
tasty.
I felt so fucking lucky. It was like, I just remember everything looking vivid and sunny and beautiful for the ceremony. And we had no real plan B for the ceremony either. So the gods shined on us that day. The gods being the women from A Wrinkle in Time.
Yes, of course.
Mrs. Witch.
Yeah.
It's Oprah in the sky smiling at me.
Yeah, it was Oprah, Reese Witherspoon, and Mindy Kaling, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just a fantastic day. It exceeded all of my expectations and hopes, and I felt the love.
I was, like I said, one of the highlights of my life too, and I wasn't even getting married. I got very emotional. But that's your wedding.
That's my wedding.
We have a podcast to do.
I'm sorry.
And before we get into the thick of it, we have some emails.
We have emails. We're back.
Emails. Yeah, we're back. Our peep fans who have been long awaiting through our absence.
I know. Now that the wedding's over, I can pour all of my attention and love into the podcast, to the fans, to Michelle.
Please? Please? A little help, mayhaps? A treat. But we do have one email. I'll read it out. We got it. It says, "Hi, ladies. Love the podcast, and I'm slowly but surely catching up to the latest episodes. So I'm sorry if you've already answered this in an episode." That's okay. You're probably up to the latest episodes by this point. What are some movies that you loved prior to film school but couldn't enjoy afterwards because of what you learned? Alternatively, what are some films you thought were awful prior that you gained a new appreciation for afterwards? Thank you, Ken from Annapolis, Maryland, United States.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. That's a good question.
Oh, God, what did I learn in film school?
Oh, so very many years ago.
Yeah, not to collaborate with men, not to listen to them either.
I think it's funny. Some of the movies I got an appreciation for are like movies that like take big swings or tight structure that I would like. Die Hard is a great example of like, action is not a go-to genre for me. And it wasn't until like a teacher was pointing out like how fucking tight the structure is in Die Hard and how good I was like, this is a great movie. This is nothing like Die Hard 4.0 or anything. This is incredible.
Yeah, I feel like film school taught us to respect and appreciate the basics.
Yeah.
Like things like Die Hard and Speed, and then like just the classics like Jaws. Like they really obviously just teach you why these films are successful and why they sold, and it's because the structure was immaculate. The character work was great. The themes were great. Everything there's a lot of subtlety in how strong a film can be.
There's a misconception of like, oh, well, once you learn, then like every movie looks like crap. I'm like, no, so many more movies are awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of movies become like that already seemed mediocre are now intolerable because it's like it being this mediocre is very frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm desperate for you to try more.
Yeah. What's a film that got worse after film school? I don't know. I feel like it's funny. This podcast has taught me to appreciate a bad film in a way. And that like, I feel like after film school, there wasn't like a film I turned to and I was just like, that was actually shit. Like I still liked it because I appreciated certain things about it. It's hard to turn on a film.
I think for me, my answer is Zack Snyder's filmography. So it's really hard to appreciate anything that guy's been doing. Except, I mean, The Ambulance was more recently. Apparently that's been good. So I'm not including that. Or is that Michael Bay? That was Michael Bay. Zack Snyder's filmography then.
I mean, like, I think prior to film school, I loved Tarantino. And then after film school, I became a bit more critical. But perhaps it was just because I met too many fanboys.
Yeah. I think like there was a period where I was like, oh man, Tarantino and Nolan, I don't give a shit. And I was like, it's too many film bros. Going back, I'm like, nah, Interstellar, Kill Bill, still fucking great movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Still love those movies.
You can't actually criticize the work. You can criticize the fans, but don't criticize the work.
But it doesn't make me criticize certain bits. I will say now that we're on the topic, there is one scene of Kill Bill that bothers me so much now because it's the bit where she realizes she's met Hattori Hanzo and then she sees all the katanas on the wall and there's the music playing. And the music is either a direct, it's like resampling from Once Upon a Time in the West or it's at least a sound-alike for. And in particular, like L'America de Jill.
Yeah.
Which is one of the most beautiful pieces of film composition I've ever heard in my life. That one. Yeah. One of the most beautiful pieces of music. I love listening to it. It makes me so emotional.
Well, he just takes like Ennio Morricone original scores and uses them for his films. That's what he does.
Fine. But in the original, it's like a song played for this like sex worker whose like new family and new life has been ripped away from her, like resiliently standing against this fucking rogue.
Yeah.
And then Tarantino was like, what if it's looking at swords? And I'm like, that is cool.
Not as good.
I don't think you're recontextualizing it in a way that I think is as cool as maybe the other things you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer to this question.
Yeah, there we go.
It's that scene in Kill Bill. That's what changed for Michelle.
Love the rest of it still. That bit, I'm like, yeah, come on.
And also, like, it's the same thing where people like Morricone is overrated. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
His scores are incredible. You just don't like the films or the fans. That's fine.
Yeah. Nah, Morricone and John Williams are like why classical music still exists.
You just got to separate the subjective from the objective, you know? You can hate something, but it could still be good.
Yeah.
You can like something and it could still be bad.
Which ironically means in turn, you can't then look at your colleagues and go like, objectively, the film is bad and be taken seriously. That's just a stupid thing to say. But speaking of stupid things to say, this week we watched Thunderbirds.
We've got a lot of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of stupid things said in this movie.
Thunderbirds.
Did you ever watch the original show?
So, no, never. However, because we watched this film, I just wanted to know what the original show looked like.
Yeah, with the Super Marionation style.
I didn't realize that's what Team America was playing on. I thought Team America were just kind of like, they looked they're the same kind of puppet.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was directly taking from Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
I thought there was just, a correlation. But when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's why Team America looks like that.
Yeah.
It's because of Thunderbirds.
Well, Thunderbirds and the same team, they were a husband and wife team.
Yeah.
Now they've split. They made like 7 other shows or something on the BBC.
Wow.
Thunderbirds is just the most notable of them.
So it's an English show.
It's an English show.
Which is why there was like English cast members in this as well. Because this was like a weird transatlantic film where it was like, half American, half English.
I'm just checking if I wrote it down.
So
No, I didn't.
transatlanticism, charming 100 years ago. Now it's just kind of weird. Keep them separate.
Yeah, I get. Well, I mean, to be fair, transatlanticism right now means that you're both descending into a pit of despair at rivaling speeds.
So everything's blowing up behind you.
The whole thing, like it's a British show that was trying to appeal to an American audience. So one thing I read but didn't write down was the creator said of the characters of Penelope and Parker, who you're talking about.
Fucking loved Penelope, by the way.
I knew you would, because she's very
Penelope
like
Creighton
60s
Ward.
feminist that we both love.
I also love Sophia Myles, who played
Yeah.
Penelope. I mean, she'll always have a place in a lot of millennials' hearts for being the girl in the fireplace in Doctor Who, but she's just fantastic. She really carried a lot of the film with Parker. Every scene they were in, I would like pay avid attention to.
So one of the co-creators, Sylvia Anderson, explained, I said to myself, what do the Americans think of us Brits? They think we're either cockneys or posh ladies in stately homes. Okay, that's what we'll give them. So you've got Parker, the Cockney chauffeur, and Lady Penelope Creighton Ward, who lives this glamorous life in her big house.
It was also really strange watching Ron Cook, a very respected BBC actor that has played numerous character roles and bit parts in so many BBC adaptations over like the last 30 years, pop up in Thunderbirds, the movie.
So weird. And they seem so wholly unrelated.
They did.
It's also telling of the different sensibilities that she is a spy. She works for the government and they are a private enterprise.
I just have to say, like, my first impression was, I wish I watched this film as a kid.
Yeah.
Because I would have fallen in love with Penelope. I would have loved like the pink Ford that she's like driving that can fly through the air.
Yeah.
My
Ford of
favorite
Europe
bit,
actually made that car. It's a
amazing.
functional car.
It's beautiful. It's like when I was a kid, we all had like, like girls had like Barbie fucking cars you could shove your Barbie into and drive around. And that was like this pink convertible and it blew your mind. And that car in Thunderbirds really tapped into the whole Barbie nostalgia.
Well, it's also the thing that like, the open secret of kids' toys is that girls also like things. And they're not allowed to have things. So that's like, well, you make it pink. And so it's like girls can play with it. And they're like, I want to play with the cool car.
Yeah. I want to put Barbie and Ken into a car and just drive them around. And if you're feeling daring, you'll get 2 Bratz dolls and put them in the back seat. And then worlds are colliding.
Holy shit.
And then you'll crawl under the sofa and you'll make the 2 Bratz kiss.
Yeah.
And then you'll kind of like take off their clothes and wonder why certain bits aren't there. But then you'll try and make them touch it. And then your mom will be like, what are you doing? You're like, nothing. And then you shove it into your bag and pretend that you're just hanging out under the sofa bed. Was that too much detail?
So when did you realize you were bi?
When I watched Thunderbirds, like last week. No, I loved it. I loved Penelope. I mean, the actual Thunderbirds, pretty underwhelming. They were these like white Californian jocks. I love Bill Paxton. I'm glad he played the dad.
They seemed like the worst and just testosterone-fueled nonsense.
Yeah, Alan Tracy, not a great protagonist, but all of the side characters and having Ben Kingsley as the main villain, so fun.
Well, also, you said like Bill Paxton, rest in peace, good. I mean, sometimes we see actors on this list and we're like, they are acting their heart out. Yeah. What's the opposite of that? Because Bill Paxton was sleepwalking through this movie.
He was.
Every line was like, Alan, you got to do this. Yeah. The only time he gave any charm is when he's like resuscitated from death, where he we'll get into it, but literally on the radio goes, haha, that was pretty funny, right?
Also, I love that the kid that played Alan, our protagonist, he really has that early 2000s blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesse McCartney energy. Where like, there's about 4 different actors around the time that all looked the same. They had the same very kind of prominent nose, blue eyes, washy, like kind of like ruffled blonde hair, maybe with a frosted tip or 2.
Imperfect teeth.
And like there was like a strange charm and charisma to them, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But They were one of a kind.
It was really funny looking him up because I was like, what else has Brady Corbett been in? And it was like, Brady Corbett known for Thunderbirds and Funny Games. And I was like, Jesus.
That's his career done.
But I mean, no. I mean, like, he's been in other movies, but it's just like so disparate to go like, Thunderbirds, Funny Games.
What's Funny Games?
Oh my God. It's one of the most horrific, like, it's good, but it's like really, it's like, oh God, like home invasion sort of like horror, like really intense.
Yeah.
Really intense movie.
Does it involve like
a remake,
sexual assault or?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Which is a good sign. I think it's just violent.
Okay.
It's a remake of a European. Jesus. I'm not remembering enough about this.
European.
I haven't watched the original because someone was like, it's so violent. And I was like,
yeah.
I
want to be happy when I watch movies.
It's a remake of 1997 film by Michael Haneke, which is the Austrian. The original is Austrian.
A 1997 Austrian violent film. You're telling me it doesn't have sexual assault in it? You're kidding yourself.
Maybe it does. Maybe it does.
You're kidding me. Yeah, those are two very disparate things to star in.
Yeah, it's like it's really quite strange. Like watching someone's like known for a My Little Pony, and I don't know what's something very violent. Saw.
Also, I loved that Vanessa Hudgens as a young girl was in this too, as like the love interest.
Yeah,
pre-High School Musical Vanessa Hudgens.
Early years. I think this is her second movie. Yeah.
Oh my God,
as
she was
Tintin
a baby.
Cairano.
Tintin's not the best name.
It was very confusing, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm glad that her parents were proper characters, but the first time we saw her mum, who is an Indian woman, is she's just cooking for like the whole family of white people. And I was like, oh boy, it's like the first person of color that's appeared in the film so far, and she's a chef for them.
I wanted to get into it later, but there's a bit that really fucked me up where like Parker is they discover that like the villain is Tintin's half uncle, and Cairano, who is just referred to by his last name.
Yeah.
Kairano's half brother.
Yeah.
Because he pops up on a screen that Lady Penelope is looking at, and then he goes, "Oi, that's Master Tracy's loyal manservant." And I was like, loyal manservant?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why the fuck does Jeff Tracy have a loyal manservant that he rescued from a mine?
2004.
That's fucked up. What the fuck?
And then his whole family are like indebted to the Tracys.
Yeah,
like it's bizarre.
Call him your assistant, your right-hand man, your butler, loyal manservant.
Also, one of Hood, Ben Kingsley, the villain, one of his assistants, the Hood, one of his assistants is played by that woman from Black Books.
Yes.
And I can't remember her name, but as soon as she was there,
she's
got
her summer girl.
Very distinct English accent with a lisp. And yeah, she's got like this beautiful red hair. But she was in Black Books as my summer girl.
I was watching this with a friend, and I spent like half the runtime going, why do I know her? And then I was like, oh, she's the summer girl.
Yeah, she's got the tiniest filmography, but when you've seen Black Books, you'll always remember her because she's just got the most distinct accent ever.
Yeah,
she's bizarre, but I love her.
She's also cast in a role that like sometimes women with any distinct features get cast, where it's like everyone is treating her as if she's hideously ugly, but she's actually kind of hot, and they've just given her teeth.
They've given her glasses and teeth.
Yeah,
and she's an attractive woman.
She's a very attractive woman.
But she's meant to be a nerd. They just whacked some glasses. It's so insane that in the early 2000s, they really did just put glasses on hot women, and they were like, you're ugly now.
Oh, look, she's ugly.
Oh, she's ugly.
Let's get into the overview, because now we're just talking about the movie.
Yeah.
So here's some key details. Came out in 2004. This was one of the, in my opinion, strangest things about it. It was directed by Jonathan Frakes, who plays Lieutenant Riker in The Next Generation, like Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea why this Star Trek actor, like, very beloved for his role, as far as I know, started directing kids' movies. This was the second one he directed. But he directed Thunderbirds.
All right.
Starring Brady Corbett, Bill Paxton, rest in peace, Ben Kingsley, and Vanessa Hudgens, amongst others. The budget for this was $57 million, and it made 28.
Oh, fuck.
Which obviously, that means including marketing and stuff, made probably like a quarter of what they wanted.
Oh, that's horrible.
And that means the returning actors are Ben Kingsley from A Sound of Thunder and Bill Paxton from Spy Kids 3.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can't believe Ben Kingsley's been in this twice.
I did not go into this list thinking, oh yeah, the Rating Descending All-Stars, Ben Kingsley, Bill Paxton. And I added this up top because we were just talking about the budget rather than later. Jonathan Frakes he attributed the film's box office failure to a combination of stiff competitions from its contemporaries, Shrek 2 and Spider-Man 2, and its poor critical reception. I think that's so funny.
Oh, no, yeah, it's definitely Shrek's fault.
Yeah, it's like, well, like Shrek came out and Spider-Man
reviews.
came out, Also, people hated it.
Shrek was genuinely good.
So was Spider-Man 2. That's the best Spider-Man movie. Here's the full overview. Alan Tracy, son of former astronaut billionaire Jeff Tracy, founder of International Rescue and inventor of the advanced rescue vehicles the Thunderbirds, is home on the secret Tracy Island for spring break. However, unbeknownst to them, psychic criminal mastermind The Hood has tracked them using a secret beacon on Thunderbird 1. Writing that paragraph was one of the most insane things. There, he launches a missile at the orbital station Thunderbird 5 and the oldest Tracy brother inside, sending Jeff and Alan's other older brothers into space to rescue. However, in that time, the Hood rapidly takes over the island, including its command center, stranding the Tracys in space. The Hood plans to use the other Thunderbirds to rob the Bank of London, amongst other world banks, placing the blame on International Rescue as a vengeance for the time that he was left in a mine. I mean, we can unpack this, but they saved everyone else in the mine, including his brother, not him. Obviously, he lived, so it was fine, but that's his motivation.
Yeah.
He wasn't rescued, and he was okay. Alan, his friend Fermat, and his childhood crush Tintin band together to try and retake the island. However, the Hood's psychic powers stop them, whereupon he reveals that he is the half-brother to the Tracy's right-hand man and loyal manservant, Kyrano, and Tintin's uncle. Departing for the robbery, the team escapes and manages to save the stranded Tracys. Racing to the Bank of London to stop the Hood, Alan saves a nearby crashed monorail, proving his worth as a Thunderbird. That's unrelated. Tintin uses her own psychic powers to weaken the Hood, allowing the Tracys to capture him, saving the day. This is really hard to figure out what are the things to touch on,
There's a bit too much altogether of this film to touch on.
Yeah.
Like the bit where she does reveal her psychic powers. They're like, what was that? And she was like, nothing, let's keep going. And she gets incredibly aggressive about it.
Yeah, implying that she already knew that she's psychic,
She did.
but is embarrassed about it. She doesn't know that it's related to the Hood yet.
It'd be sick to have psychic powers when you're like 14.
Yeah, she lives on an island with just white boys. Like, there's no way she isn't talking about it constantly. Especially since Fermat's dad, who is their, like, resident scientist, is trying to work on mind powers.
Yeah.
He would want to know.
Yeah.
This gets into my larger critique, all right? My number one critique of Thunderbirds.
Wait, you're not going to tell me there's like
At all.
plot problems in this film, right? That's crazy.
This movie is wild. There's a lot to unpack about the movie itself, but the bit that gets me about the premise of Thunderbirds, this fucking astronaut billionaire has invented by himself or with the hand of his scientist who is just named Brain, invented these like hyper advanced rescue machines that like there's one Thunderbird 1 is like it's sort of like a starfighter. It's like an X-wing.
Yeah.
But I guess not in space.
Yeah.
Then 2 is the big carrier that just can hold a lot of stuff. 3 is a rocket ship to space. 4 is a submersible like submarine thing that has claw arms. And then 5 is a full space station.
Yeah.
He is an irresponsible, evil person for not sharing this fucking technology with the world governments. This should not be in the hands of private capital.
That's true, actually.
This is
That's a good
insane.
point.
This is like, if not only, like, it's already weird that we have like SpaceX, or it's like, instead of like a government funded NASA, there is like this one billionaire who's private company. But what if SpaceX was literally just his plaything? It's not even a company, it's just his.
Yeah.
Elon Musk himself uses the rocket to go to space.
Can you imagine that? Yeah, it would be the equivalent of like Elon Musk creating these 5 new incredible contraptions and keeping them to himself.
They're just his?
Privatizing them.
It's also like, it's a secret. He's on an island, which would be surely easy to find.
It's like it's a secret as to where he is, but the contraptions are very well known. People get excited when they appear. They help civilization.
In the original, they're supposed to be a secret. Like,
but in this movie, everyone's like, the Thunderbirds are
yeah,
here.
they're like, oh, it's the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
It's also meant to be secret who they are, but everyone at his school knows that Alan Tracy seems to be part of the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
Even though later they stress to him, this is meant to be top secret.
Did you finish your overview, by the way?
I did.
Okay, all right.
I'm just so immediately baffled by like the premise of this fucking movie. They're evil. They're villains.
I love that when Ben Kingsley, when the Hood monopolizes one of them, he just lands it in the center of London. Everyone's like, what are the Thunderbirds doing here? And they just start drilling into the ground. I'm like, there's no subtlety to this plan.
Yeah.
They're doing it in the middle of like fucking London with news, like just news channels filming them do it.
Yeah.
Could they not have just chosen a more discreet location?
But
they want to get to a bank.
But also they're trying to place the blame on the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
But this is also just evidence that, yeah, you know what? It's pretty irresponsible for these to be just like 5 privately held devices instead of like... The fucking United Nations should be in control of the Thunderbirds.
I gotta say, a highlight of the film is Ben Kingsley as the Hood when he does his mind powers. His eyes go red.
No, it's snake eyes.
Snake eyes,
Yeah.
and they're red.
Yeah, it's red.
And they're terrible because, like, it's just Ben Kingsley clearly looking at something and raising his eyebrows a little bit, and then
Yeah.
going, "Ugh," because it's draining him slowly.
But when Vanessa Hudgens do it, because she's not as evil, they're yellow.
They're yellow.
He's yellow snake eyes. Kyrano, it skips it. You know, he missed it.
I feel like, what do you think of Ben Kingsley's performance? Do you reckon he was giving it, or was he just selling out?
I think, look, Ben Kingsley is nowhere near above sellout. We are going to see him again when we get to The Love Guru.
Oh my God, you're right.
You're right. Ben Kingsley has no, like, I don't think he's precious about his career at all, right? There's no such thing as Ben Kingsley selling out. It is more the surprise that Ben Kingsley has good performances in him.
Hey.
However, I think he knows exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Unlike Bill Paxton, like Bill Paxton is playing the all-American hero with zero personality.
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley is playing a villain in a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
Right? He's giving it.
Yeah.
Similar, his henchmen, there's like Transom, and the other one's also named after a door.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. But he plays a fucking psycho.
Yeah, he does.
Nuts. And I'm like,
he does.
Hey, that's a henchman.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, that's a villain.
I think I still really enjoyed the cast members in this. I feel like it's what made this film appealing, was Ben Kingsley, all the British actors really just fucking sold. All the Americans kind of let it down.
Yeah.
But
Run Cook and what's her name again?
Sophia Myles.
Yeah, Run Cook and Sophia Myles are giving it. There's every like cutaway to them, charming, delightful.
So delightful. I love the bit where she's in the bath like sipping tea and like she's like like looking at a screen and using her like toes to change the shit.
There's nothing that makes me more happy than seeing kids movies versions of advanced technology, because it being this like pink, it's always like very circular, the interface is so strange with like the buttons on the side, this insane computer that she's operating with her toes.
Kids love gadgets, man.
Yeah,
kids fucking love gadgets.
Kids fucking love gadgets.
The problem with films is that they set you up for expecting cool fun gadgets, and they don't exist.
No.
You know, as a kid, a cool fun gadget, something that really blew my mind, was that we could have diaries that were like opened with your voice, like passwords. So you could say like, your password could be a word like schnitzel, and it would open your diary. However, it was such a great premise, but it never worked. No. It would just permanently lock your diary and you couldn't access your own fucking diary.
Those are marketed to young girls, so yeah. I never got one. And consequently, I had 4 different diaries that over the years were at various times found and read by different people. So I don't keep a journal.
Yeah, my diary got like read by my brother. And there's nothing as raw and angsty as the diary of a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
That thinks she's gay. There's a lot going on.
By the way, speaking of which, at the very beginning, he's at school, he's like dreaming, and they're like, get your head out of space, Tracy. And it was like, oh, because his brother's in space, I guess. And then she demands that he does a 10,000 word essay.
Yeah. Which
is a trope I see in American kids movies a lot, where they're like, there needs to be an extra essay. I need Americans listening to this to know that's not how Australian punishment works. I've never witnessed or got assigned like extra essays as punishment.
We tend to just get strapped to the back of a kangaroo and kind of like sent out into the desert for 3 days at a time.
Well, at my school, you had to get sent through the path.
Yeah.
And what that was is there were a lot of drop bears there. And so it was like, if you can make it out the other side, then God has deemed that you're not punished.
At my school, they would make you get into a car and then someone would basically race it at like 100 kilometers an hour into the back of a wombat. And because the backs of wombats are so solid,
Obviously.
if you survived, you were free to go.
The trick was always to aim for the anus, because then even if it's like you get in a little bit, so it takes off some of that force.
Exactly. There's a bit of bounce to it.
There's a bit of bounce.
To the anus.
But 10,000 words is an insane amount.
That's a lot of words.
That's a lot. That's like
a long
10
essay.
pages? No, that's like 20 pages.
We have proper assessments that are less than that in Australia.
And also,
how much are you writing?
How do you even expand on a topic like that? Surely these teachers don't actually expect the students to do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Are they doing too much or are we doing too little?
I think more than anything, it's bad to go as punishment. You have to do more education, because that just means you're making the case that, yes, the learning and assignments are punishment, and you're being punished every day.
True.
Your reward for being a good boy is doing less punishment. That's a bad way to orient your fucking education system.
Point. The essay is your punishment, and also we expect you to do 5 of them this semester.
Yeah, as a punishment, you have to do an essay, but everyone else also has to do a different essay. That's crazy. And then we go to the house and we see all of his brothers, who I immediately thought looked like Sugar Ray. Do you remember them?
Sugar Ray? Who's Sugar Ray?
They were a band. Look, I'll be honest, I can't remember their song. I'll look it up. But I know them more than anything because they are in a couple scenes of Scooby-Doo, the live-action movie. You know, the band in that movie, and then they all get taken over by the monsters, and they sing, and then they race on like all-terrain vehicles.
Wish I did, but
they're also the lead
Sugar
guy
Ray?
from Sugar Ray features quite prominently in the first season of Lady Dynamite, which is a show I also really like.
no way.
Yeah. They did, what was that? Fly. Anyway, they did those songs. They were pretty. It was a number 1 song, so they were pretty popular. All the brothers look like Sugar Ray.
Right.
It's a pretty good joke now.
We paid off.
Oh,
they did look like a boy band.
They did. One of my favorite moments. I want to there's a whole sequence that I love, but I want to talk about one of my favorite moments is when they do what is it? Thunderbirds go? Thunderbirds are go, right? Yeah. They're like doing the prep sequence, which was cut as if they had a deadline. Sure
they did.
It is cut as if someone said, this scene has to be 5 minutes. Yeah. And they were like, but it's 10. And someone went, I don't care. It's such a fucking freight train for what is meant to be the most iconic thing of the original. Yeah. What happens then is that Jeff and the brothers, apart from Alan, because he's not ready yet, because he's a child, go to the main command center and then into like tubes. I think they're lifts that all have their headshots on the front of them. Like they're all like standing there in a classic like chest up headshot of like arms crossed sort of thing. I love that for 2 reasons. One, you could make the argument that they all go to their individual ships, but like one of them is a space station, one of them is a rocket ship. Like obviously they don't go to the individual ships, so they all go to the same room. So it doesn't matter who goes in what tube.
Yeah.
The other thing is their identities are supposed to be secret. So then they took these headshots not for promotional materials.
Yeah,
but they're
just for the station.
It's just for the doors.
Yeah.
They fully took professional promotion quality headshots just for their own doors. That's the funniest fucking thing in this entire movie.
I've been rewatching Breaking Bad with Claude, and we noticed in a scene at Marie and Hank's house that over their fireplace, there's a photo of just Marie on her wedding day in her dress. And it's this tiny little thing in the background that is so funny and indicative of Marie as a person.
That's a really, like, whatever, like, fucking production designer came up with that and then ran it by Vince, I'm sure he was like, wow, that's really, I can't do a very good Vince.
That's great.
Yeah, he is very raspy, though.
The day that they took to get her into a wedding dress and take that photo, like, get Betsy Brandt to take that photo to then frame it and then put it over a fireplace. God, it would have been fun working in the props department of Breaking Bad.
It would have.
Yeah.
It would have been good. So much math.
So much math.
But then
So much rock candy.
a little later they go to the hangar room. You know, the kids do because they're running away. And then there's two distinct things that happen. One, Fermat, they go to two different machines. Fermat activates like a machine to stop them that fully like Nickelodeon style slimes them.
Yeah.
Why do they have a slime machine?
Because it's 2004.
Yeah, I know, but it's just weird for them to have it just loose in the hangar.
Yeah.
And
it's
then
a kid's film around 2004. It's got to be just a reference, right?
It's gotta be. It's gotta just be like, it's funny when the villains slip in slime.
God, I miss reading Total Girl and hearing about how Lindsay Lohan got slimed at the Nickelodeon Awards. Those were just simpler days.
I always loved how they put those like as an article, like as if it was like a notable thing. It happened. They always get
Everyone got slimed
every year.
You're not special because you got slimed.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I mean, no one got slimed like Katy Perry got slimed that one time. Because she's okay. That's still the funniest fucking video. But meanwhile, Alan is like using a different machine to like bust open a hole in the wall where, you know, there's the iconic Thunderbirds are go. They also consistently say FAB, which is meant to be like 10-4 or Roger.
Yeah.
The creator said doesn't mean anything. It's just a reference.
Fab.
It's just a reference to the word
60s,
fab. It's very 60s. Yeah. It should have been like RAD now for like rad.
Yeah.
But that is belying the iconic moment where he goes, "Time to thunderize," and busts open a hole in the wall. "Time to thunderize" is awful. a titanic and colossal, the opposite of achievement.
It's tough. It's tough with these films because it's like, it's so stupid, but it was designed for teenagers, and I would have fucking loved this movie when it came out. So I'm okay with thunderizing. I'm okay with slime and headshots. I'm okay with Ben Kingsley's red cat eyes. I'm okay with all of it because I think I was charmed by this film, even as an adult, because I knew how much I would have adored it as if I was a kid watching it.
But at the same, that's why it's so like all of those bits are kind of engaging, even if they're bafflingly fast and undercut. But also like they keep cutting back to like the stranded Tracys in space, which is really horrifying because they're slowly like suffocating and boiling.
Yeah.
So it's like horrifying to keep cutting back to them. Also, Bill Paxton, they're like boiling and roasting and he keeps doing bits.
Yeah.
He's like doing fucking icebreakers.
When the first kid at the space station, like the really kindly older brother, like the nice one, is like, he first, like the space station is getting attacked and he's dying and all of the brothers and the dad come to save him. Bill Paxton is so chill about his son being in peril. Like he's just kind of like, "Don't worry, son. We're almost there. Where are you, son? There he is. Hey, get some air into him." Like he's just so nonchalant about his kid suffering.
And this is the thing, like when they're literally just at some points just floating there. They've given up on doing anything, sweating and boiling. And he's like, "Looks like we're in a bit of trouble, boys." And I'm like, "What? You're gonna die. You're gonna suffocate in
with
space
your children who are also suffering." I feel like that would be even harder. Like it's horrible to die a painful death in space, but to do it alongside your 4 sons, horrible.
It felt like they did die because when they're going to save them, they're like trying to save them, and we cut back, and they're not like struggling. They're fully like unconscious in space. It looked like we're looking at Jeff Tracy dead.
That was actually the alternate ending of this movie, is Alan Tracy having to find his son, his brothers and dad just dead in space.
Fully was like, they're too late. He's just dead in space.
Yeah, the alternate ending when it just ends on the funeral with him saluting them.
Yeah.
Thunderizing them.
Well, you wouldn't salute him because you do that for the dead military. He's a private capitalist.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I reread my notes for the ending. Once they stop Ben Kingsley after like a dramatic sequence of he chooses to save him rather than let him fall into the fucking miner, which would be awfully violent if he did. But he's getting carried out by the police like he's a baby. Just like swaddling him.
Because he's a little bald baby.
He's a little bald baby. And then he looks off into the sky where the Thunderbirds are flying away and he says, "See you soon, Jeff." Not Thunderbirds, not Tracy. "See you soon, Tracy" is like evil.
Ben Kingsley's such a versatile actor. The fact that he can play a villain and a baby all in one. It's incredible.
"See you soon, Jeff." All right. Do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah, I do.
IMDb trivia.
I have a bunch of trivia. Mm-hmm. The film, you might have noticed, the film's soundtrack includes the song Thunderbirds Are Go by pop rock band Busted, which played in the credits. Which
Between Busted and the Sugar Rays, do I just not know anything? Any pop bands?
Well,
or-
maybe you should have known them because the song peaked at number 1 in the UK charts and
What?
later won the 2004 UK Record of the Year award.
What?
I know.
Am I just living under a rock? I don't understand.
To be fair, at the time of Sugar Ray, we were like 4.
Okay.
And,
But I still knew things around that time, just not these things.
well, I mean, I think we're forgiven for not knowing Busted. I don't think they were very successful outside of Thunderbirds
song,
Are Go.
yeah.
Although he shaved over $3 million off of the original budget due to his fast shooting style, you can tell, director Jonathan Frakes openly admitted that this movie's disastrous box office performance probably means he is unlikely to be offered a movie directing assignment again.
That's so sad.
Indeed, as of 2022, this is Frakes' last feature directorial
so
effort.
sad. That
is
level of
sad.
self-awareness of, yep, that's my career done.
It's sad because there's a lot of jobs where you can do mediocre to bad and still do the job.
Yeah.
You can be just okay at a lot of things.
And hey, look, in the film, there's plenty of people that do bad or mediocre jobs that still get to create. It's more the fact that this was a commercial disaster, not
Yeah.
just critical, but
Yeah.
commercially it did really bad. That's what ruined his career.
Which is, like, I get the idea that, like, the very head, you know, oh, I wouldn't trust them again. But, you know, look at someone like Trump. You can be a CEO and fail all the time.
Yeah. It's really like, did you get a return from the film? If
Yeah.
not, yeah, you're fucking done.
Yeah, but that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's so brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, even, like, people like Guillermo del Toro still struggle to get financing, and they've been, like, making good and financially successful movies for ages.
Yeah.
The 3 policemen who lead Transom, Mullion, and the Hood away are Jonathan Frakes impersonators. The real Frakes is at the back of the shot as a policeman.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wild.
That's really funny. That's actually a really funny thing to do. A Thunderbird movie had been in development since 1996. Rumors circulated in April 1998 that Peter Hewitt was to direct the movie and shoot it entirely in CGI, a la Toy Story, which you can tell when this was written because it describes Toy Story as it entirely CGI. It was later reported that Warner Brothers was going to produce a live-action spin-off of the television show with the Baldwin brothers, tipped to play 4 of the 5 Tracy brothers, and Rowan Atkinson as Brains.
No way.
The Warner Brothers project would have been shot in Sydney
Oh.
in a collaboration with Village Roadshow Pictures. Polygram Pictures later picked up the project in October of that year and had planned to produce it on a budget of $75 million. But it was during pre-production that Universal Pictures bought out Polygram in 1999. The project was then shelved for 3 years until director Jonathan Frakes signed up for the movie in 2002. Universal then ordered a rewrite of the script with a much younger audience in mind than what was originally planned.
Wow.
Craziness.
Yeah.
I did. Oh, have I got it here? Oh, yeah. I did also read through, and I want to just read one part of it, some of that original draft, because apparently the plot was originally meant to be faithful to the series, but they hoped it would not alienate audiences who are unfamiliar with the franchise. Their script featured the Hood trying to steal Tracy Island's power core to power a device controlled by arch-villain Thaddeus Stone, which would transfer all of Earth's gravity to the moon. It does not explain why they wanted. I don't understand what anyone would possibly achieve by changing all of Earth's gravity to the moon, which would instantaneously, I guess, make Earth have 0 gravity, so I guess everything would float away, and also the moon would have Earth gravity. Surely they would then collide?
Would they?
Well, can the Earth orbit the moon? I think it's too big. It doesn't mean anything. It sounds like a plan to kill everyone.
Yeah. It sounds like a plan to thrust everyone from Earth into space and then start drawing things towards the moon. but I don't understand why.
No idea why. I wish with all my heart that they made that movie.
Me too. With Rowan Atkinson in it.
With Rowan Atkinson and the Baldwin brothers.
Being stuck with all the Baldwin brothers sounds like a punishment. Sounds like Rowan Atkinson did something very wrong, and it was a production house being like, how can we best punish him?
What I like is that it's 4 out of 5 at the Tracys because there's 4 main Baldwin brothers. So
Yeah.
who would play the last one is a fascinating, like that's the new pub question.
Yeah.
Here's another one. During development, creator Jerry Anderson was invited to hire as creative consultant, but was left out when the studio felt there were enough employees on the payroll acting as part of the creative team. Which is
Okay.
a stupid reason. The studio offered him $750,000 to attend the premiere, but Anderson could not accept money from people he had not worked for.
What?
He eventually...
I'd accept that money. I'd be like, yeah, I'll go to your party and take $750,000.
But I kind of appreciate that it's like on principle. Because they clearly
don't.
want him at the premiere, so they're like, look, he's here,
As
he
someone
likes
with
it.
no principles, take the money.
Look, they were clearly sloshing too much money at this in the first
Jesus
place.
Christ.
He eventually saw the film on DVD and was disappointed, declaring it was disgraceful that such a huge amount of money was spent with people who had no idea what Thunderbirds was about and what made it tick. He also said that it was the biggest load of crap I have ever seen in my life.
They knew what it was about. It was about thunderizing. I think they hit the nail on the head.
Well, yeah. Later, the other co-creator, Sylvia Anderson, said that she really liked it, but I think she just accepted the $750,000.
I would accept the $750,000 and smile and nod my head and say, what a fantastic film, guys.
Yeah.
And go home and put it into a house, put it into a mortgage,
Yeah.
put it towards my cats. Get them a house, get them a mortgage.
Well, I mean, at this point, they made a show in the 60s. I think it's more like buy their grandkids a house.
Yeah.
Here's some weirdly written goofs.
I love a goof.
With the rescue at the oil platform, how come the TV cameras are there?
How come the TV camera's there?
It's actually not a bad question. Either that or it's like the Thunderbirds are filming it and then they're like live streaming it to the news, which is also weird. Also, we didn't talk about how the first thing this private capital enterprise saves is an oil rig. It's good to save human beings' lives. It's strange to go like, we must save this oil rig with our privately owned, incredibly advanced
They probably
save
owned
machines.
a portion of it.
Yeah, that's how he made his billions. Here's another one. There seems to be no regard for time zones. It's mid-afternoon in Massachusetts when Alan is picked up from school, but obviously night when the oil rig workers are dropped off at the hospital in California. It would also be morning on Tracy Island, somewhere in the South Pacific Ocean, when they returned, not dinner time.
The problem with the goofs is that usually they're right. It's just they went through the effort of writing it.
What I wish though is I want this person to watch every movie and just comment about time
time
zones.
zones.
Because this is by far not the only movie to have any like time problems with
Goofs
time
make me
zones.
proud to not notice a thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like a better person for it, being oblivious to
I know
issues.
what you mean. You know, when someone tries to point out a continuity error, I'm like,
Didn't happen.
I didn't notice. Huh.
Yeah.
Strange.
My life is so much simpler and happier.
I remember-
for not noticing.
Someone told me recently that they knew someone who started pointing out all the errors in Jaws. With like where the sun's position, and I was like, you know what? If they fixed that, maybe it would have been a popular movie.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe if they'd fixed that one
the
thing,
one
we would have
thing.
remembered Jaws.
Yeah, that is what spoiled it for me as well. It just
Yeah.
took me out of it.
Totally. I was like, shark? Huh? I'm looking at the sun.
I'm so glad we CGI suns in movies now, just to get around that whole issue.
Here's the last one. At lunch, Jeff Tracy asked to be passed the salad when he has the salad in his hand. But he is not asking that the salad be passed to him. He's handing it on and asking that it be passed along down the table.
I don't know.
This is not the first time I've read you a weirdly written goof where the person, by the end of it, is like, actually, you know what? That wasn't a goof.
Yeah. And then I feel like I'm getting somehow like gaslit while you're reading this out to me. Like I'm so confused by the end. I'm more baffled than when I entered today.
And that's why it's a weirdly written goof. Do you want to hear a review?
Yes. Just one.
Fuck.
Reviews!
Yeah, it's got 19% on Rotten Tomatoes and 4.2 on IMDb. We're still in there. Critics widely describe the film as a second-rate Spy Kids imitator.
Yeah.
Which I didn't get a particular quote of that because I saw 3 different reviews that mentioned that it's just a wannabe Spy Kids.
It's hard to have like a group of kids fighting off some villain with cool gadgets flying around on an island when Spy Kids is just in the periphery, you know, around the same time. You're destined to fail.
Yeah. And Spy Kids, as we talked about, Spy Kids fucks.
Really fucks.
Really fucks. And Sukhdev Sandhu of the Daily Telegraph said a quite cretinous travesty of the original series, saying that the film lacks the TV series' romantic approach to technology, particularly mentioning its rushed version of the countdown to the Thunderbirds takeoff, and suffers from thin plotting and dialogue. He also regarded the entire trend of making films based on decades-old TV series as good-intentioned but misguided, arguing those programs can be seen on terrestrial and cable TV. They're available on DVD. They don't need reviving and updating. Now, I included that review because that was written in 2004. Sukhdev Sandhu must have had a rough past 2 decades.
Yeah.
If he in 2004 was like, I don't like how we're sometimes making some old things into new movies. I don't think we need to bother with this. Sukhdev, I'm so sorry.
We're in the golden age of remakes.
I'm so sorry, Sukhdev. You, I'm sure he quit from a nervous breakdown.
100%. Became a recluse.
Here's some IMDb reviews. First one's titled Great for Kids by Aidan R. Jones. Despite the negativity that adults have said about this film, this movie is for kids, and they should be the ones rating it. I grew up watching this awesome film, and it does not disappoint if you go into the movie expecting it to be a kids' movie. The graphics and special effects are sick, and although the acting is subpar, it wasn't meant to be brilliant, just a feel-good movie for kids. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Now, sometimes I do this. I double-checked. This guy's only other review is for The Lion King 2019, the live action one, where he said almost the exact same thing. And here's another one. It's a kids movie, guys. Because I like the grammar of it, it's important to note that the guys has like a possessive apostrophe. So it's a kids movie belonging to the guy.
Ah, of course.
By Stony G.
Stony G.
I've looked at this movie 3 times. Sorry, looked at is funny. I've looked at this movie 3 times just to study it. And quite honestly, it's not a kid's movie. It's not a movie made for adults. It's a movie clearly made for kids. And if one tries to look at it, not as an adult, as a kid, I have to say that the director did an excellent job. The old series are copied in an excellent way. It lets kids see that team play is so important as it is in real life.
Team play.
And then long ellipses. When you watch this movie, try to watch it without certain expectations. You'll see that it is long, not as bad as you first thought. I did not find one swear word in all of the movie, nor did I find any sex in it. And that in a movie of the 21st century, of the 21 century, you see not all movies need these. That's one of the reasons why I like this one. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. I hate when I encounter all these kids' movies with sex and swearing in it.
This kids' movie is too sexy.
Too
You're
sexy
telling
for
on
me.
yourself, man. But, that was just critics and some people on IMDb. Abby, what was your review?
Penelope Creighton Ward made this.
She did?
She made this a higher rated film than I would typically go for. I think that she really she brought the whole film up.
Don't.
And if a good year is our 5 out of 10.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
No, I wouldn't watch it again. I wouldn't actually. I loved Sophia Myles in this, but even she couldn't save this film entirely. I would be charmed if I was a kid, but unfortunately I'm 27. I'm fucking married. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't have time for childish shit anymore in my life. It was like a knockoff Spy Kids. And even though the Brits really managed to salvage a lot of it, Bill Paxton and the Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
The Sugar Ray. His Sugar Rays?
Sugar Ray.
Sugar Ray.
The band is just called Sugar Ray.
The Sugar Rays.
And
like a doo-wop
Sugar
60s
Ray.
group. The Sugar
Bill
Rays.
Paxton and Sugar Ray is a perfectly coherent.
They really brought it down. I would say, fuck. I gotta give it like a 4. A 4 out of 10. I can't do higher.
Yeah.
I refuse to budge. What about you?
I thought this movie was... Look, I was going into it. Sometimes when we see these, you get like there's a smell in the air. I'm like, this is going to be like...
That's just me.
This is going to be like Yogi Bear, where it's just like flat. Yogi Bear is my go-to on this podcast for like the most nothing movie. That movie
Yogi Bear felt like a low point.
It was a vacuous hole where a movie should be. It is the most nothing movie. There's a complete like absence of thought in my mind where Yogi Bear should be.
Yogi Bear is my dark place.
Yogi Bear should be a 5 because a 5 is perfectly neutral.
Yeah.
It is the complete equilibrium of all things.
A dark place is lighter than Yogi Bear. You know what I mean? Like Yogi Bear is so neutral, it's darker than a dark place.
It is grey. It is like a 37% or 17% grey, which in color rooms is like the most neutral color there is. I thought this was going to be like that, and it ended up being absolute batshit. I had a great time. I'm glad I watched it with a friend because sometimes I'm like, hey, I gotta warn you, these movies sometimes are just not fun to watch.
Yeah.
But it's also bad. It's also really bad. It's very unsuccessful. It's also hideous.
Yeah.
It is ugly.
Ugly film.
Front to back. It's piercingly awful to look at. It's so bright. I had 3.6.
Yeah.
3.6.
Yeah.
I think it's bad. Would I watch it again? Yeah, if I had a few friends over and we were a little tipsy, sure. But I have others I'd go to before that point.
Exactly. It's not fun enough in how bad it is to warrant a rewatch, in my opinion.
If you're a bad movie connoisseur, I would say put this on your list.
Yeah.
If you're just in it, for a couple.
It'd be fairly far down on the list.
Yeah.
It's there, but it's not, you don't need to get around to it anytime
If we were making this list, I would definitely also put it after 100.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But, that was my review. And if that gave you a bit of a giggle, a bit of a good time.
A little chuckle here and there.
And you want any more, but you're like, I want more, but not in this awful audio format. I would actually much prefer the written word. Well, then you can find us in other places. You can find us on social media. Like you can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod. You can find the things that you just heard on TikTok at RatingDescending. Or you could even email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
Or you can find us on our personal accounts. I'm on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle.St.
And please, God, please leave us a review.
Oh, God.
On Apple Podcasts.
I need it so
or on
bad.
Spotify, wherever you
I need it so
get your podcast.
bad.
We really fucking need it.
I need it so much.
We need it so bad.
But you know what? That was Thunderbirds. Abby, what are we watching next week?
Michelle, next week we're watching the 1998, not to be confused with the 2000 film, The Patriot.
I gotta tell you,
with Steven Seagal.
When I was trying to find this movie for us, I had to dodge so many fucking landmines. Looking it up was so hard.
Yeah. So join us next week.
Yeah, I've never watched a Steven Seagal movie.
Me neither.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Everybody, we're in for a Seagal fest.
We are. We'll see you there.
What is this? It's the seagull.
Steven!